It's now my pleasure to introduce an individual whose remarkable achievements will be recognized with an honorary Doctor of Laws degree. Alice Klein is a social activist, writer, entrepreneur, ecofeminist, and unapologetic advocate for social change. She's also the veteran editor, CEO, and owner of Now magazine, Toronto's longest-running free alternative media organization, which she co-founded in 1981 to address the need for an alternative press to cover cultural and social movements that she felt were being ignored by mainstream media. Reaching 500,000 print and digital readers, Now magazine is a crusader for social and environmental justice. In an era in which journalism has been questioned, Ms. Klein emphasizes the need for independent journalism and is a former president of Canadian Journalists for Free Expression. Ms. Klein has been involved in writing, politics, and social justice since an early age while she was still an undergraduate. Her first editing role was for the early feminist publication, The Velvet Fist, in 1971. An anthology on working women, which included her essay on the turn-of-the-century unionized women working in Toronto, was the recipient of a Toronto Book Award. Ms. Klein embodies Trent's vision for critical thinking, commitment to excellence, and innovation. Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting to you, for the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, Alice Klein. Looks good. Looks good. Congratulations, Dr. Klein. It's now my privilege to invite you to address Convocation.
Who knew I would be able to speak after that? That was... Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, members of the graduating class, faculty, friends, and family, I'd like to start with a special thank you actually to Chancellor Tapscott, who I first met as a fellow student activist during our university days. And thank you so much to the entire Trent University community for this incredible honor. These short moments that we are spending together will be a source of joy and pride and hope that I will carry for the rest of my days. And thank you also for this impressive and progressive place of learning that is committed to rethinking how we live on this land our Indigenous sisters and brothers kindly share with us. Thank you for being a beacon of hope in this fake news, anti-intellectual time. And most of all, thank you, graduating students, for all the years of blood, sweat, and tears you put in before finding yourself at this wonderful celebration. You are the reason I want to talk about hope and faith in yourself and how to hold on to these like they are your sweetest best friend ever. Because I recognize that despite the fun I hope you'll have tonight, graduation is not a comfortable place to find yourself. I remember the fear and anxiety I felt at the end of my university days, not knowing what would become of me. And that was a much more hopeful time. We actually were very busy changing the world back in those days. I was too young to be right at the very first women's liberation movement meeting, But I was at the very second Toronto meeting of the WLM, as we called it back then, the summer before I started my post-secondary days, and that set the tone for me. Student activism was my main focus in university. Social history was my impossibly impractical field of study. It seemed utterly random at the time. It was just what I felt compelled to do. Yet it turned out that my activism work and the seemingly useless social history I was studying and the fabulous like-minded friends I connected with and in some cases fell in love with turned out to be pillars, absolute pillars of my as yet unimagined 38-year Now Magazine media career. I didn't know then that I would be standing here today as one of the first cohort of creative women since patriarchy colonized the world, who would be able to shape my own life, live my own sexuality, express my own gifts, and bring them out into the world. That is a very cool and hopeful thing to reflect upon in this otherwise truly messed up world. But hey, I get it, that's not enough. The weight of what is going on right now is a burden you are carrying that is beyond historical precedent. The cascading issues are on every level and everywhere, from personal survival issues like precarious work and digital disruption, all the way up to the totally global and beyond. I mean, the earth itself is raging. But hope, I must say, is not for suckers. It gives us the energy to keep imagining. We need that to keep going. It is not a luxury, it is an essential. Most of you are, like me, children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren of genocide or war, slavery or tyranny, abuse or oppression. Our ancestors suffered, yet we are here at this joyous time. They would be filled with happiness to see you here. Their hope brought us together. So here's my bit of elder wisdom for you, based on what I have lived and loved and learned. You are here for a purpose you likely have yet to discover. The earth herself is calling on each and every one of us to become a planetary citizen in his or her or their own beautiful way. How do you do that? Let me share the words that author and 60s merry prankster Ken Kesey, he's the person who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, shared with me at some early Toronto's Author Fest. I asked him to sign one of his books, and he wrote, "Sink your yellow fangs into whatever your passion is and let them drag you to your destiny." I think that's good advice. And if there are some bright, shiny faces 30 or 40 or 50 years from now gathering in this very spot for this same celebration, it will be in part thanks to you and all the mystery of how you and your like-minded friends take up the hopeful challenge of founding a new era for them to find their way. So let me close with my personal motto. It takes a leap of wild faith to believe you can make a difference. Don't let that stop you. Thank you. Thank you.